Welcome everyone to the first set of my campaign diaries for the World of Fel. It's a D&D campaign I've created, and I have just started running as of a few hours ago. We did our session 0. I'd actually expected session 0 to be nothing more than everyone get to know each other, me letting the main NPC for this time introduce themselves, let the players get to know each other, and just, roll our stats. Our character's already been created, but unbeknownst to me, the players wanted more. They played their characters very well. Their characters wanted to go on and go do more. So that's what I allowed them to do. Now, I actually wasn't prepared, which was my fault. Being a new DM, this is my first time officially DMing for 5e. So, and it being my own unique world, everything is a tad bit different, a little more difficult, but, on that, it's not so bad. We played for about 2.5 hours. We had some technical difficulties, of course. I need to get better internet. Need to get a better laptop so that we can actually play without having to reset everything or switch over to stuff like Facebook Messenger, stuff like that. I mean, we were dropping in and out, and it just wasn't what it needed to be. It was very fun, don't get me wrong. I need to get the tech issues handled on my end so that everyone can have a very smooth experience. That's what I want to run. I want them to have fun. I want them to have a smooth experience, and I want them just to experience this world. I can't wait to see how they interact with it, how the tales go around them, how they shape the world. Now, as a new DM, it's going to be hard for me not to rush these characters and rush the story. I do have plot points. I do have things in the future that I want to do. But as I'm having to tell myself not to rush it because these are level 1 characters, a brand new party. I don't want to kill these. These are our experienced Dungeons & Dragons players. Probably more experienced than I am. But their characters are lower level. And a few of their characters have unique points and properties that we're still working through, as some of our stuff is homebrew, and we have taken things and are using things in our campaign from things like the Dungeon Master Guild, which everyone who submits content, I do thank you. Hopefully I'll be able to submit a content here soon, and you guys' content is amazing. Thank you very much. With that being said, so our characters meet, and here's a little bit of backstory about the world. The world of Fel is a bit of a unique place. It is kind of like how Earth was before the continents split. It's one supercontinent that takes up 45% of... Sorry, no. 50%... No, it is 45% of the world. Sorry about that. Takes up 55% of the world. Now, it's one supercontinent, but just because one supercontinent doesn't mean that there isn't portions that are, have lakes filled, or that the ocean has, come a part of and into. So there's places where you'll have gulfs, that you'll have inlet seas. Some of these places are quite large, that some of these races believe these are big, large seas and oceans. Not much has been explored outside of the main continent for the fact that it is so dangerous in the seas. Now, in this world, most of the humans, dwarves, half-orcs, and rock gnomes have sided on one side. They are part of the kingdom of Alamor. Alamor, yes, we'll go with that. I may change the pronunciation. It's kind of hard right now. I'm putting together all the languages and dictating specific things. Now, what is happening there is they are all about industry and increasing wealth for their people. Now, they're at the point to where they're at industry by any means. They don't care about the cost on nature. If it's the dwarves on the mountains strip mining down into that gold, or the humans clearing swaths of forest for their cities to grow, the half-orcs roaming and pillaging and bringing in materials for everyone, or even the rock gnomes with just the way they invent new things to help the humans and everyone else just make it easier to mine, to cut wood, to fish, all of that. They don't even care about their impact. On the other hand, we have tieflings. Most of the tieflings, Ashamar, half celestials, kind of like tieflings are with the demonic patronage, but they're with the celestial bloods. We have the elves, the half elves. Not all half elves. Some half elves have sided with the industry side in the Kingdom of Amalur. Gnomes, halflings, Dragonborn, and they're on the side of the Alliance of Mist, MYST, and they're all about the balance of nature and living with balance of nature, living with nature, and going from there. Now, just because they're all about nature doesn't mean they're any less sophisticated or less civilized than Alamor. Actually, in fact, most of them, the elves, the Ashamar, and the tieflings, are actually quite culturally advanced and technologically advanced, but theirs is just with technology, their version of technology, same with industry, but it's with nature. It doesn't destroy nature. It combines with nature, and it just allows for the natural world to grow and, to be part of their world. Now, there's a couple things that differ in my world from the regular D&D world. Take, for example, Dragonborn. Now, Dragonborn are usually created with a sorcerer casting magics to allow a person to become like a dragon, and then their lineage from there, or a dragon to be more human, and their lineage from there. Well, in mine, it's a little bit different. We all know that most dragons can shapeshift in my world. What this happens is if, let's say, a female dragon takes a human or elf or, their shape, they can actually mate with the father of one of these species, and they will turn out more like the dragon. So they'll have wings, they'll be able to fly, they'll have higher resistances, they'll have their breath attack will do a little more damage, their racial stats will be a little bit higher. Now, if it's a non-dragon mother, they'll be more like the mother's race. So they'll have the racial bonuses from the mother, plus they won't get any of the racial bonus for being a dragonborn, but they will get half resistances. They'll get half damage on their breath attack. They won't get wings or scales. That's the difference there. We also have the Akashic, which is a class I've added in along with Gunslinger. Akashic are, for all intents and purposes, they are Jedi. They are Jedi and Sith. And in this world, they were brought into this plane, the prime plane, as I am calling it, and they were brought with the Tieflings and the Ashamar when they left from their home plane to come here. The original Tieflings and the original Ashamar were constantly at war from the light and dark perspective. Most of their people, it had gone on for millennial. Most of their people had gotten to the point to where they were tired of it. They just wanted to be done with all of the war. They just wanted it to stop. So, unbeknownst to their leaders and the zealots of their people, they left and they came to the Prime Plane. When they did, it actually allowed for their abilities to not transfer, but call out to individuals that could be trained into becoming Akashic. And they called out, and they set up temples. And yes, there's good, there's evil, there's even neutral, all across the world that way. They're seen as being the next step for magic. They're seen as being above regular magic. For places like the Kingdom, who forbidden worship of gods and any deity that's completely forbidden. They've forbidden magic. They have squads that actually hunt down and end mages. And then actually children who are born with magic are hunted down unless their parents can smuggle them out. So it is a very, very dangerous world to be in if you have magic. Now, where our players find ourselves is at the cusp of a war. Their actions will actually dictate what goes on. They may not realize this yet, so if they're watching, don't metagame, please. Anyways, they're at a point to where they do have a major effect on what happens. And as it should be when you're doing a campaign, your players should, in fact, affect your narrative. Your narrative should be shaped around your players to keep them engaged. At least that's what I've learned from watching Critical Role and Matthew Coville's videos and his campaigns. Both Matthew Mercer and Matthew Coville are a big inspiration in my campaign. It is actually thanks to both of them that I am doing this DMing, so very thankful to both of you. So, they're to a point to where in each of their stories, they're already set up characters in this world. They have past, they have a history, they have things that they have already been known for. So at this point, my main NPC, his name is Krivseth of Greymount. Krivseth of Greymount went to each of these characters in a different guise, as a Dragonborn, as an Akashic, as a Tiefling, as a human, as a dwarf, as an elf, and using the shapeshifting abilities. And turns out, once the players, they had agreed to meet at Greymount, which they didn't know they were meeting at, to help him with help them with a problem. So once they get there and they realize that Krivseth is actually one person, not multiple people like they were led to believe, they actually revealed themselves to be a dragon. This dragon has been forbidden by the Council of Dragons to actually act on behalf of the Dragonborn relatives and descendants. They're not allowed to get involved because it's too much power, and the dragons are mostly off in their own plane doing their own thing. But there are a few dragons that didn't go there that are, evil or neutral. It just didn't do anything with the council. But he implores their help, and he lets them know that there's a reason why they were chosen. They were chosen because of something called a soul stone. Now, soul stones aren't necessarily unique to any campaign, but in mine, I came up with it, and I thought it was a very unique and very interesting way to tell how they were chosen. And also to add a little bit of, what would have happened if I hadn't agreed to this? So a soul stone, for every sentient being and every life form that could possibly become sentient in all of the planes, there is a soul stone hidden inside Greymount. The Akashic of Greymount are actually the guardians of these soul stones. Now, if a soul stone calls out and cannot be calmed, it will search out its owner, the one its soul is linked to. And if that person is not prepared to receive a soul stone, they will have a very good chance of their soul being ripped out of their body and into the stone, because the stone is trying to become one with them and help them. And the stone doesn't realize how dangerous it is for an unprepared being to accept its blessing, if you will. So Krivseth, without telling anyone else at Greymount, went out and found these individuals, and through different meanings, saving some of them, just conversations, hiring a rogue for a job, he made sure that each one of them would be in a position to help him and be in a position to accept their soul stone. Let's start first. We'll talk about our resident alchemist, Galen. Now, because there's a chance that my players will watch this, and the player who plays Galen has his own secrets right now that hasn't been revealed to the party, I'm not going to go into too bit of detail, but Galen the Alchemist is very cool, in his own mind at least. He was very successful as an alchemist in Alamor, and he ran a very good business until someone leaked that he was a possible mystic, and he had to run because the death squads, the Inquisitors, were coming for him. He had no option. Krivseth found out, and at the very last minute saved him. Stepped through a very specific teleportation portal that is linked to the Akashic and dragons, and got him out to actually a camp he had set that Galen had set up in case something like this happened. They had a talk, and Galen didn't necessarily get very along with Krivseth. He was kind of off put by him and didn't like the magic that was going on because he didn't have he didn't have a way of blocking it. So Krivseth and him have a conversation, and Krivseth leaves behind a letter. When Galen reads this letter, as soon as he reads it, he understands the location and the time he's meant to be there. But not because it's in the letter. It's described in the letter where to go, but he has the exact location in the world of where to go because of the magic tied into the letter. And again, another thing that Galen wouldn't like. So Krivseth then disappears and appears for our bard, Flint. No, sorry, our gunslinger, Flint. He's not a gunslinger yet. Right now he's a warrior, but he will become a gunslinger. And Flint is a rock gnome. He is very inventive, very creative, but he is stuck in the shadow of his father and his older brother, who run Caliber Arms, a very prolific arms dealer for the kingdom. Sorry about that. So, what happens is as he decides to leave to go do his own thing, and he had ideas to create guns, and that's what he wanted to show his family is, look, this is my idea for a new weapon. This is going to change everything. He leaves, and as he does, he is met by Krivseth, who then, hey, you want to come get a drink? Have a job offer for you. And Flint loves gold. He's a businessman at heart, and he needs that money. So, through the offer of a job, Krivseth gets him to agree, gives him the letter. Same thing happens. The magic just lets him know where to go and how long it takes to get there. And now that brings us to Heathran, or Heath, our monk. Our monk is very cool. As a child, she was left abandoned with the monastery. And for 75 years, she trained with them, completely devoted, completely loyal. But the more she learned, the more she questioned. The more she questioned, the more things didn't make sense about her place in the world. And then she found out that she found a letter from her parent, to the monastery, giving her the name of Heathran and not her monk name. And all she found, she had the letter, she read it, she was like, okay. And then she found a token, and she found a locket with no pictures and a coin. And now she's been on a 200-year journey to find out what it is. The player chose the hermit backstory, and I did merge it with the sage background to create the. So she wanted to be a researcher and the hermit, so I combined those two, balanced it out pretty well, and gave them that. She has a great discovery. She had to answer 6 questions, and she got those 6 questions by meeting 3 deities. The goddess of strength, the goddess of peace, and the goddess of forgiveness. This is paramount to her character, in my opinion, as it will help this character who is completely lawful good. It'll actually make them question that, them being lawful good and that kind of every crime is evil. So it took the 64 years to understand these questions, to be able to answer them, and to give them that great discovery and it's going to be a personal great discovery, and I have not role-played it out with the player yet. I'm waiting for an opportune time. It'll be between the next session. And that brings us to our rogue, Lyra. Yes, Lyra. She is a half-elf, and her father was a teacher, an astrologist, on a stroll one day, I met her mother, who was a trader from the kingdom, and they met and fell in love. Her mother was human. And from there, she learned a love of music from her mother, a love of astronomy and learning from her father. But unlike both of them, she was called to the way of blades, and specifically as a rogue. She's a pretty good rogue. She will not steal from just anyone, only those that, in her opinion, or what she's been led to believe, are too well off. And by too well off, I mean like from ill-gotten gains, and that these people could suffer. So you could almost say a Robin Hood type character, but she keeps the money for herself unless she's contracted for a job. Well, Krivseth um, met her. And he hired her to do a job, to steal a book of slave papers and replace it with a ledger that basically stated that they were running a forgery ring and were using the forgery ring to instigate a civil war in the kingdom. For this slave owner and noble, he was very evil, very bad. And the rogue went through the process of that adventure with me and almost got herself sold into slavery. She got very lucky that Krivseth understood that there's a possibility she would get in trouble and left a magical device for her in that room. Now, yes, if Krivseth was there, could he have done it himself? Yes, but the point was for the rogue to do it and the rogue to prove, okay, I want to help people. There's more to me than just stealing. So she was able to escape that, and actually, one of the objects she got was a bracelet, a very beautiful and handcrafted bracelet. It's a symbol of nobility for the city that she had to go to steal those papers. She's actually a wanted woman in that city because of it. Her image was captured and put up on bounty boards all across the city. She was able to escape and met up with Krivseth, and they had a conversation, and he said, come here, I'm going to help you in the same thing with the magic. Now, I totally just forgot that Heathrin said that Heathrin met Krivseth as a gnome, and they had a conversation and sat down to tea, and just after that conversation, Heathrin was in. She wanted to help. And that brings us to our last character, Penny. Penny is a bard. She is a very skilled bard, and she is just leaving her tribal village when Krivseth comes up to her. Now, Krivseth already has an inkling of each of these individuals, and with Penny, he already knew that while she was the daughter of... Penny is a Genasi. A water genasi specifically. While Penny was the daughter of the ruler of their tribe, she did not want to ascend to her mother's position. She has no want to rule. She wants to help people. She wants to help herself. She wants to adventure. She wants to fight. She wants just those simple, fun things. So he appears to her, and they go through a meeting with the council of her tribe and her mother, and he asks, Krivseth asks for someone to help that wants to leave the village and see the world, but also still wants to help people. And she was the first one to volunteer. And her mother let her go because her mother already knew that this would be the kind of thing that would help her become more than what she was now. So that's where we're at, and then each of them coming together. And as they come together, they enter Greymount. Greymount is a very special place because of those soul stones, and everyone who enters it willingly and without a evil motive in their heart becomes protected. Once they are protected in that way and tested, they're able to accept their soul stone. So they all meet and they get a bit of an introduction, and then when Krivseth comes in, he takes them all and reveals he's a dragon. The players are dumbfounded. In all honesty, they didn't expect this. Some of them had an idea that he was that person they met and was very linked, and it made it mysterious. They had no idea Krivseth was going to be a gold dragon. It really shocked them, and actually Penny drew a blade on him. Krivseth just laughed it off. Krivseth understands that this was a shock to them. They're not gonna get mad over something like this. Krivseth does explain that there is a tribe of Dragonborn that are seeking refugee with Greymount to survive these attacks that are happening. What the kingdom is doing is they're actually going and attacking anything magical, anything that is not natural, and then what they consider to be not natural is Dragonborns, Tieflings, Ashamar, dragons themselves, those type of races that to them are just beyond evil because they're not natural. Now, the one thing that the kingdom will actually allow is Akashic sensitives. in their city because they don't see it as magic. They see it as a connection to the world at heart, and they are allowed in the city, but they're still not trusted. So individuals, from the kingdom are actually hunting down the Dragonborn, and that's why Krivseth wanted these individuals to help him. Besides the Soulstones going off, so that when he finally went back to his human image, they went back to the human image, and they brought the Soulstones to him in the party. Well, the funny thing is the Heatherin, our monk, was the very first person to go up and look in the bag of what he was holding. Our monk rolled lower than the passive, what I needed her to roll to see what was in this bag. All she could see was shadows, and our rogue come up behind her, just looked over her shoulder and rolled a high enough perception and could see right into it and said, these are stones. They have writing on them. I can't read that writing. And when she pointed out the stones, and of course in D&D, once you point something out, even somebody who missed the perception check would now be able to see it. So our monk sees it, and she reads Draconic. And she can read it. She can read each of their names on it. But she cannot read the second and third lines on each of these stones. Like I said, there are 3 lines. And she can't read the second and third on anyone's but hers. Because they're meant for each person specifically. So she tells everybody to hands them their stones. And for Galen, he sees his name and his secret. Then on the second line, he sees the words trail and safe and the draconic word for alchemist. Flint was able to read his name once he touched, in each of these, as they were able to touch a stone, like with the letter, they were able to read what is specifically on their stone. Not that they can read draconic, but that they can read their specific soul stone. On Flint, he reads his name, the word gun, and the sentence, your father knows. Penny. Penny's name is on hers, of course. It reads her tribe's name and the draconic words for map and lost. Lyra's, of course, her name is on that, and it reads wanted, nobility. Same line for the second line, and the third line is family. When Heath reads her stone, she sees her name and a question that she was asked by the goddess, which was, I never was, am always to be. No one ever saw me, nor will ever will, and yet I am the confidence of all, to live and breathe on this terrestrial ball. What am I? And the word coin. Now, Heath had already solved this riddle in her travels, so that is one of those things that is important to her. So, and then as it happens, our Galen actually has Arcana training, and the player asked if he could roll an Arcana check to see if he could understand the magic going on with the stones. And rolled a natural 20, which I was very shocked on. Even with that, the magic, he was able to understand it. And what it is, it's a very specific type of magic that is linked to Akashic and dragons alone. Those are the only 2 people, races or class and race that can use this type of magic. It is very old and primordial. It bypasses all natural resistances to magic. It's very powerful and very dangerous. But he also understood that Krivseth was using this in the most gentle and lightest way possible. He was able to sense that it was far beyond him in power and any of his knowledge he has ever learned. And he was awed by it and a little annoyed by it because he just couldn't understand where it was coming from. So, when they decided, I was really hoping, like I said earlier, that they would actually decide to just end the session there before they left, but each of them decided on their own, like, yeah, we want to go and do the next thing. Well, they were shown on a map how to get to this location. This location would lead them to where the Dragonborn that they're supposed to be saving is. On their way there, we had a marching order, oddly enough, of our alchemist in the back, our warrior in the back, our monk in the middle and our rogue in the middle and our bard up front. I had the bard roll a perception check because at that point they'd been traveling 5 to 6 hours and they were being followed. They didn't know this yet, of course, but they were being followed, and the bard rolled a 1, a natural 1. So she was lost, staring at nature. Nature's pretty, basically, is how she was paying attention. So once that happened, she started singing to herself, and our rogue noticed that, man, this is supposed to be a dangerous area, and the person up front is kind of off in her own little headspace. So our rogue goes up, and I have her roll a perception check. Well, she asked if she could roll a perception check in character because she's like, I'm a rogue, so I would be checking ahead once I've looked at this map and seen where we're going. And she was able to enroll a natural 20. At that point, I was just going, if she had to roll anything above a 12 to send something. Where she rolled a 20, I let her know that ahead was a presence, and behind was a presence, and to the west of them was a presence. The west presence only wanted to find out what was happening. They were just interested. The presence behind was wanting to, at some point, herd them into the presence ahead, which wanted to feast on them and kill them and eat them and other demonic and deranged things. Well, our warrior, when the rogue tells the warrior and everyone else what's going on, our Flint just turns and starts yelling about killing a dragon real loudly for intimidation purposes, and rolled a natural 20. Well, the presence behind them rolled a 1. It wouldn't have mattered if they'd rolled anything but a natural 20. The only thing that saved them. They were frightened. They ran, gone, not even gonna even see this dragon slayer. The presence ahead rolled a natural 20. And they completely resisted the fear effect. They were ready, waiting. In fact, because of it, they were ready and rearing to go even more. They wanted to take this liar and put him in his place. And they get to a point to where our rogue notices ahead that they're coming to a forested area. Huge trees, 100, 200 foot in height. And in the center of these trees, there's this huge tree that stands 700 feet tall. It has golden leaves and gold running through the tree itself. When she points it out, Flint, who loves gold at this point, takes off and goes forward as if, to get to that tree and see if it's gold. Well, Lyra stops him. And so I have them roll opposed checks. Lyra rolls a 15 with her bonuses, and Flint rolls a 14 with his. Just enough to stop him. As that's happening, I had actually done a roll table before that on what they would encounter if they encountered anything, and the timetables it would take for them to get there. At that same time, there was along with that presence, it was actually more than one individual, and one of them took a shot at Flint. And Flint's AC was 15 and rolled a 14 with bonus. And missed. So, basically Lyra had pulled him back just in time as an arrow whizzed down into the spot he would have been stepping. And very likely could have put him... it would have put him single digits in one hit. It would have been a very hard thing for him to take that hit and just go straight almost, unconscious in the very first hit. But it's only, it's one of those things that's completely by surprise. So with this, I think the players will be able to handle this pretty well. This is the first of many I hope to make of these videos. I hope you guys like it. If you do, or if you don't, or got any suggestions, let me know down in the comment box. I'm open to anything. Have a wonderful day. And is it Friday yet?